the 14,000-hour apprenticeship. By the time your kid walks across that stage at 18 with a high school diploma in their hand, they have spent 14,000 hours in a classroom. 14,000 hours. That is roughly the time investment of a senior employee in any other industry. 7 full-time years. Now ask yourself this: what do they have to show for it? Can they manage debt? Can they read a contract? Can they fix a leaky faucet? Can they solve a math problem they actually care about? For most of them, the honest answer to those questions is no. Not because they are not smart. Not because their teachers were not trying. Because the system that consumed those 14,000 hours was never designed to teach them those things in the first place. Welcome to Voice of Sovereignty. Today we are going to talk about what 12 years of school actually buys you and what comes after. Welcome back to the show. If this is your first episode, I work at Global Sovereign University, a free education foundation founded in Eugene, Oregon. We give away curriculum that other places charge thousands of dollars for. We do not have ads, we do not have paywalls, we do not require accounts. We just give it away. And the reason we give it away is the topic of this episode. The school system most of us grew up in is producing exactly what it was designed to produce. And what it was designed to produce is not what the world we are living in actually needs. So today, we are going to look at the data, the hard numbers, what 12 years of school is producing in 2025 and 2026. And then we are going to talk about what comes after, because that part is already being built by you, by me, by thousands of people who have looked at the data and decided to do something different. Let's start with the arithmetic. Average American kid goes to school 6.9 hours a day, 178.6 days a year for 12 years. Multiply that out, and you get about 14,000 hours. That is the number to remember in this episode. 14,000 hours. Now compare that to a career. A senior software engineer with 7 years of experience has logged about 14,000 hours of professional work. A senior nurse with 7 years has logged about 14,000 hours. A senior anything has logged about 14,000 hours. So when your kid walks across that high school stage on graduation day, they have invested the equivalent time of a senior professional in any other industry. The question is, what is the return on that investment? What is the return on the $250,000 spent over those 12 years by hardworking taxpayers? Here is what the international data tells us. The United States ranks 8th out of 37 OECD nations for how much instructional time students get. Our kids get an average of 8,917 hours of compulsory primary and lower secondary instruction. The OECD average is 7,604 hours. So our kids are getting more instruction than the international average, over 1,300 hours more, which is the equivalent of about a full additional school year. And yet, when researchers measure adult literacy and numeracy across OECD nations, U.S. adults rank average, right in the middle. More than 25% of U.S. adults score at or below level 1 literacy, which is the level at which someone can only read very short, simple texts with no distracting information. So we are spending more time, we are getting average outcomes, the math doesn't add up. And here's the part that should bother every parent listening. Students lose between 16% and 25% of their allocated instructional time to administrative transitions, off-task behavior, and non-instructional requirements. So out of those 14,000 hours, about 2,500 to 3,500 of them are not even instructional. They are just kids waiting in lines and changing classrooms and watching announcements and doing fire drills. That is the equivalent of taking a kid out of school for a full year and a half during their 12 years. And nobody talks about it. So that is the time investment. Now let's look at the output. Every year, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, NACE, surveys hiring managers across the United States. They ask the same set of questions. What professional competencies do you consider highly important in new hires? What level of proficiency do you actually observe in your new hires? The 2025 NACE Job Outlook report came out a few months ago, and the gap between those two numbers is not subtle. It is a chasm. Critical thinking. 96% of employers say it is highly important. 56% of new hires demonstrate it at high proficiency. That is a 25-point gap. Communication. 96% say it is highly important. 54% of new hires are highly proficient. Another 25-point gap. Professionalism. 89% highly important. 50% highly proficient. A 29-point gap. Leadership. 45% of employers say it is highly important. Only 31% of new hires demonstrate it at high proficiency. A 35-point gap. These are not specialized technical skills. These are the foundational professional competencies that 14,000 hours of school were supposed to produce. And we are producing them at half the rate employers say they need them. And here is the punchline of that survey. 84% of hiring managers in 2025 agree that most high school graduates are not workforce ready. 80% say current graduates are less prepared than previous generations. So we are not just behind, we are getting worse. The 14,000 hours are producing weaker outputs than they did 20 years ago. So either the kids got worse, or the system got worse, or the world around the system changed faster than the system could adapt. I'm going to argue it's the third one. The system did not get worse. The system did exactly what it was designed to do. The world it was designed to serve just stopped existing. Let me give you one more set of numbers because this one is the most personal. In February of 2025, the Junior Achievement Organization surveyed 1,000 American teenagers, asked them basic financial literacy questions. The results came out in March, and they should have been front-page news. They were not. So I'm going to put them on this microphone because somebody has to. 68% of American teens believe saving for retirement can be deferred until much later in life. 2/3 of them. They have no idea what compound interest is going to do to them if they wait. 43% of them believe an 18% interest rate on debt is manageable and can be paid off over time. Almost half. They have no concept of what 18% interest does to a balance month over month. 80% of teens have never heard of FICO credit scores or do not understand their purpose. 8 out of 10. The number that determines whether they can rent an apartment, buy a car, or qualify for a mortgage, and they have never heard of it. And the saddest one, 42% of teens are terrified they will not have enough money for their future needs. They are scared. They know something is wrong. They cannot articulate what. And here is what makes this a system failure and not a teen failure. Adults with low financial literacy are 2 times more likely to be debt constrained and 3 times more likely to be financially fragile. So the kids who graduate without financial literacy do not get a do-over. They graduate, they sign up for credit cards at 24% APR, they take out student loans they don't understand. And 20 years later, they are 40 years old, financially fragile, and wondering how they ended up there. The system did this to them. We did this to them. And then we tell them to be more responsible. So why does the system produce this? Because it was not designed to produce financially literate, autonomous adults. It was designed to produce something else. And we have to go back to 1830s Prussia to understand what. Most Americans have no idea where their school system actually came from. They assume it has always looked roughly like this: bell schedules, grade levels by age, standardized curriculum, teacher at the front, students in rows, and summer break. None of that is natural. None of that is universal. All of it was deliberately imported from a specific 19th century Prussian military training program by a man named Horace Mann, who visited Prussia in the 1830s and brought it home. The Prussian system was designed in response to military defeats by Napoleon. The goal was explicit. They wrote it down. The goal was to produce obedient soldiers and compliant citizens, to reduce, and I am quoting from the actual reformers, to reduce aliveness, independence, and individualistic spirit in favor of state loyalty and frictionless administrative efficiency. That was the design intent. They did not hide it. They wrote it in their education papers. And the system was tiered, 3 tiers. The Akademienschulen for the policymaker class, 0.5% of students. The Realschulen for the managerial proletariat, 5 to 7%. And the Volksschulen for everyone else, 92 to 94%. And in the Volksschulen, reading was actively discouraged. Why? Because excessive reading was believed to produce dissatisfaction by revealing better lives possible elsewhere. They literally suppressed reading in the lowest tier so the workers wouldn't get ideas. Horace Mann visited Prussia, saw this system, and brought it home to the United States in the 1830s. He was honest about the trade-off. He said it explicitly. He was trading local autonomy and family-led learning for what he called order and predictability. He thought the trade was worth it. The country was industrializing. Factories needed workers who could show up on time, follow instructions, sit in rows, and not ask questions. The Prussian model was perfect for that. So the bell schedules, the age-based grading, the standardized testing, the teacher at the front of the room, all of that is Prussian. None of it is American, and it has barely changed in 2 centuries. So when we ask why our school system is producing compliant kids who can't read a contract, the answer is because what it was designed to produce. Compliant kids. The contract reading skill was never the point. The point was compliance. And we have inherited a 200-year-old factory we keep trying to use as a knowledge economy school, and we are surprised it is not working. There is one more layer to this, and it is the most uncomfortable. Beyond the formal curriculum that gets taught in classrooms, there is a second curriculum that schools transmit. Researchers call it the hidden curriculum. It is the unwritten strategies, the context-specific norms, and the implicit expectations that govern actual success in the system and in adulthood. How to write a professional email, how to ask for what you want, how to read between the lines of a contract, how to navigate authority figures, how to negotiate, how to dispute a charge on your credit card, how to call a doctor's office and reschedule. None of this is taught in school. Schools assume it is being transmitted at home. And here is what the 2025 research found. First-generation and marginalized students invest 14% to 26% less in high-return hidden actions, cold emailing alumni, strategically engaging faculty, and navigating informal hierarchies, compared to their peers from middle-class families. Why? Because they did not see those behaviors modeled at home. Their parents didn't sit at the dinner table and talk about how they negotiated their last raise. Their parents didn't write professional emails in front of them. Their parents didn't dispute a charge on their credit card and explain why. So those skills, which are absolutely critical to adult success, were never transmitted. This is the structural reason equity gaps persist even when formal access expands. We can give every kid the same textbook. We can put every kid in the same classroom. We can offer every kid the same college prep program. The visible curriculum is equal. The invisible curriculum is not. And the invisible curriculum is what determines actual outcomes in adulthood. So the kids whose families could not pass that knowledge down at home reach 18, walk across the stage, and discover they are missing a body of knowledge they didn't even know existed. They watch their middle-class peers confidently call doctors, negotiate with landlords, dispute charges, and ask for raises, and they think, what is wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. The system was supposed to teach you this. The system never had any intention of teaching you this. The system was teaching you compliance. So what do we do about it? We have spent 30 minutes diagnosing the failure. Now let me tell you what the alternative looks like, because the alternative is not theoretical. The alternative is already running. Mastery-based learning. The research has been clear since the 1960s, when Benjamin Bloom published his 2 Sigma research showing that one-on-one tutoring is the most effective form of instruction we know how to provide. Until the 2020s, we couldn't replicate one-on-one tutoring at scale. The AI revolution changed that. For the first time in human history, a kid in rural Oregon and a kid in Lagos and a kid in Mumbai can all have the same patient, knowledgeable, adaptive tutor available 24 hours a day in their own language. That is what Gino is at GSU, our AI tutor. He speaks 32 languages. He is available all day, every day. He never gets tired. He never loses patience. He explains the same concept 5 different ways until the learner reaches comprehension. And he is free. And here's the structural shift that has happened underneath all of us that nobody is talking about. As of 2024, every U.S. state now permits schools to measure students' progress based on demonstrated mastery rather than seat time. The Carnegie Unit, The seat time measurement that has organized American education since the 1900s is being abandoned. Pilot schools like Alpha and Acton Academy report students advancing 2.6 grade levels per year. By grade 6, Acton students are 3.5 grade levels ahead of traditional peers. Alpha School compresses core academics into 2 hours per day of focused work. 2 hours, not 7. Because when you remove the busy work, the administrative friction, the lost time, and the seat time apparatus, you get a system that actually serves learning. This is what GSU is. This is what we have been building for years. Free curriculum across every subject, AI tutoring in 32 languages, mastery-based progression with bronze, silver, gold, and platinum badges across every learning path. Trade integration as a core curriculum, not elective. The Sovereign Trade Series, 10 books on practical capability building. Financial literacy as a foundation, not an afterthought. Financefication, Wealthification Junior, and the Budget Master Series. And starting June 5th of this year, a certificate of achievement system that will give learners blockchain verifiable credentials employers can verify will be implemented. All of it free, all of it given away, because the resources that save livelihoods should not be gated behind paywalls. They should be available to anyone with the courage and the will to take them. I want to leave you with one line that sums up where we are going, and what we are doing. And it goes like this. Most are building for the world that just ended. We are building for the world where the only durable skill is learning how to keep learning while the ground shifts. We have access to the resources that save livelihoods, and we give them away. That isn't a rant. That is clarity. The world that just ended was a world where a high school diploma was a passport, where a college degree guaranteed access to the middle class, where a single skill learned once could carry you through a 40-year career. That world is not coming back. It ended sometime in the last 10 or 15 years, and most of our institutions still haven't figured out it ended. The world that is coming is a world where skills go stale in 18 months, where the only durable skill is the meta skill, learning how to learn, where capability matters more than credentials, where the ground shifts under you constantly, and your only protection is your ability to adapt faster than the shift. The 14,000-hour American school system was designed for the world that just ended. It was designed to produce compliant factory workers. It is still producing compliant factory workers, and the world is asking for something different. So here is what I want you to do. If you are a parent, go look at globalsovereignuniversity.org. Everything is free, no account required, means no paywall. Use what helps, skip what doesn't. If you are an adult who never learned this stuff, same thing. Go look, use it. There is no shame in being 40 years old and finally learning what you should have been taught at 16. If you are a teacher or a school administrator, same thing. The curriculum is free for your students. The tutoring is free for your students. The certificates of achievement, when they launch June 5th, will be free for your students. Use what works. And if you are a person who has resources, money, time, expertise, and you want to help build the alternative, go to the donations page. Every dollar funds the platform. I take zero personal proceeds from any of this. The foundation owns everything. The royalties from every book, every certificate fee in the future, and every donor contribution go back into building more of the alternative. Skills now go stale in 18 months. While the world struggles to name the change, we are building the infrastructure to survive it. Global Sovereign University. Building for the world that is coming, not the one that just ended. Music up. Outro. That's all for this episode. If this resonated with you, share it with one person who needs to hear it. That is the only marketing GSU does. One person sharing it with one person at a time. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll see you in the next one. This has been Voice of Sovereignty. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep learning.